The air, usually a canvas of desert stillness, now vibrated with an electric hum, thick with the weight of humanity's impending destiny. "So, you'll put that thing between my legs?" The words, delivered with alien clarity through the Zeno translator, hit Kyle Anderson like a sonic blast. 32, a lead propulsion engineer for the newly minted Global Space Agency, his mind a labyrinth of complex schematics and orbital mechanics, simply locked up. This wasn't merely unexpected. It was an act of audacious, primal directness, shattering every carefully constructed protocol for first contact. Just hours ago, his biggest concern had been optimizing thrust ratios at the Mojave Launch Complex. Then, without fanfare, the sky above the remote Arizona mesa had fractured, parting not with thunder, but with the silent, majestic descent of an extraterrestrial vessel. Now, standing on sun-baked Earth, Kyle was a reluctant participant in a hastily assembled first contact team, the desert wind doing little to cool the sudden flush on his face. The alien ship itself was a testament to impossible physics, a liquid metal sculpture that seemed to absorb and re-emit the desert light. Its sleek, organic curves defied human geometry, shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence that hinted at technologies beyond Earth's wildest dreams. A collective, almost reverent hush fell over the human contingent as a seamless panel on the hull peeled back, revealing the Luminary. They were breathtakingly alien, yet unervingly familiar, bipedal, with slender limbs and elegantly elongated forms. But their skin was a living, breathing canvas of shifting hues, each subtle change a window into their emotional state. At their forefront stood Lyra, the luminary diplomat. Her gaze, like twin nebulae, swept over the assembled humans with an unnerving intensity. Her eyes, pools of constantly changing color, paused on Kyle, then, with an almost scientific dispassion, dipped low. That's when the question, so startling in its bluntness, landed, threatening to unravel the carefully rehearsed dance of diplomacy. Kyle's internal world spun like a gyroscope's out of control. Was this a catastrophic linguistic misfire, a cultural chasm so vast it bordered on the absurd? Or was it something far more fundamental, a biological query stripped bare of all pretense, devoid of human social constructs? He risked a quick, frantic glance at Dr. Eris Thorne, his xenobiologist colleague from the Global Science Initiative, whose usual academic composure had evaporated, replaced by a mask of wide-eyed shock and an almost giddy, intellectual fascination. Around them, other faces reflected a chaotic mosaic of embarrassment, outright horror, and a strange, nervous amusement. The immense weight of Earth's first true interstellar impression pressed down on Kyle, a crushing burden. One clumsy word, one ill-judged gesture, and a fragile bridge between civilizations could dissolve into misunderstanding before it was even fully formed. He cleared his throat, the sound dry and rasping in the charged silence, feeling the desert dust tickle his throat. "Welcome to Earth," Kyle managed, his voice betraying a tremor he couldn't quite suppress. "We are profoundly honored by your arrival, and we aspire to establish a foundation of—" But Lyra cut him off, her movements economical, her gesture emphatically sweeping towards his lower body, a stark, almost clinical assessment. Her xenotranslator word, amplifying the sheer, unadulterated audacity of her next statement, devoid of any human social filter. "Your anatomical configuration truly captivates me," she announced, her voice resonating with pure, unadulterated scientific inquiry, utterly without self-consciousness. "Luminary physiology is quite distinct. I find myself intensely curious about the intricate mechanisms of human biological replication." The air, already thick with tension, now thrummed with a new, almost physical energy. From the opening hatch of the luminary craft, more of Lyra's species emerged, their shifting skin a chaotic kaleidoscope reflecting their own varying degrees of intrigue, concern, and perhaps a detached assessment. This was far from the sterile, meticulously planned encounter anyone had envisioned. It was raw, unscripted, and veering wildly off the pre-approved diplomatic script for both species. Kyle's mind raced, desperate for a diplomatic tightrope to walk, one that wouldn't send humanity tumbling into an intergalactic faux pas. It wasn't just about a single, crude question. It was about the colossal chasm between two utterly different forms of life, their inherent customs, their deepest taboos, their very biological realities laid bare. The distant rumble of approaching armored vehicles, the telltale sign of Ambassador David Vance and the United Earth Security Force's imminent arrival, tightened the knot of pressure in Kyle's stomach. He had to act, and fast. He had to pivot, to deftly defuse, to reinterpret this astonishing breach of etiquette into something comprehensible, something that wouldn't spark offense or catastrophic misunderstanding. He took a deep, shuddering breath, the hot desert air filling his lungs. In this utterly unforeseen moment, he wasn't just a propulsion engineer anymore. He was humanity's accidental ambassador, thrust into a role that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but perhaps its fledgling place in the wider cosmos. As he prepared to speak, a chilling certainty settled over him. This precise moment, this utterly bizarre and intimate exchange, would be dissected, analyzed, and debated for millennia in the annals of interstellar history. The answer he was about to give would echo through generations. The question, bold and disarming in its alien innocence, rang in his ears. So, you'll put that thing between my legs? The world, under the relentless glare of the Arizona sun, held its collective breath. Kyle Anderson took another deep, steadying breath, the scent of parched earth and distant creosote bushes filling his lungs. His voice, now remarkably steady despite the rapid beat of his heart, addressed the luminary diplomat. Lyra, I genuinely appreciate your scientific curiosity regarding human biology. However, in our culture, discussions surrounding reproduction are considered deeply personal, often reserved for private contexts. Perhaps we could initiate our historic dialogue with a more general overview of human anatomy. A broader understanding of our physiological makeup might be a more suitable starting point for our burgeoning relationship. Lyra's iridescent skin rippled with a mesmerizing blend of deep blues and verdant greens, her xenotranslator whirring softly as it processed Kyle's carefully nuanced words. Of course, Kyle Anderson, she replied, her voice losing none of its alien timbre, yet now carrying an unmistakable note of deference. I apologize if my directness caused any discomfort. Please, enlighten me about your species. We are truly eager to learn. With that unspoken permission, Kyle launched into a concise, yet engaging scientific explanation of human biology. He detailed the intricate dance of our organ systems, the elegance of our skeletal structure, and the marvelous complexity of our neural pathways, highlighting our resilience and adaptability. As he spoke, the palpable tension in the sweltering Arizona air began to dissipate. His colleagues, including Dr. Eris Thorne, visibly relaxed, their earlier shock replaced by a professional eagerness. The Luminary, in turn, leaned forward, their multi-hued skin pulsing with vibrant patterns that Kyle was quickly learning to associate with intense interest and intellectual engagement. Fascinating, Lyra uttered when Kyle concluded, her eyes like shifting nebulae, reflecting profound contemplation. Our biology is indeed quite different. Luminary reproduction, for instance, occurs through a unique symbiotic process involving a third, independent biological entity, a rare and complex phenomenon even among many galactic species. This revelation sent a ripple of excited murmurs through the human team. Dr. Eris Thorne, his spectacles glinting in the afternoon sun, pushed forward, almost vibrating with barely contained excitement. I'm Dr. Thorne, a leading xenobiologist with the Global Science Initiative. He introduced himself, his voice brimming with unbridled enthusiasm. Would your people be willing to allow us to conduct some non-invasive scans? Our portable scanners, though rudimentary compared to your technology, could offer invaluable preliminary data on your unique physiology, particularly this symbiotic process. Lyra conferred briefly with her Luminary entourage, their collective skin patterns a kaleidoscope of internal debate, before she finally gave a firm nod of assent. As Dr. Thorne meticulously set up his portable scanning equipment, Kyle noticed a distant plume of dust on the horizon. A convoy of sleek, heavily armored vehicles, bearing the insignia of the Global Diplomatic Corps, was approaching rapidly. The cavalry, it seemed, had finally arrived. Ambassador David Vance, impeccably dressed in a tailored, desert-tan suit that seemed ill-suited for the humid climate, strode purposefully from the lead vehicle. He was flanked by a retinue of stern-faced United Earth Security Forces personnel. "I'll take it from here," Vance announced smoothly, his voice honed for commanding presence, as he deliberately inserted himself between Kyle and Lyra. "I'm Ambassador Vance, official representative of the United Earth Nations." Kyle felt a sharp pang of frustration. He had just begun to establish a fragile, yet promising, rapport with the Luminary. Now, Vance, with his rigid protocols and air of practiced authority, was effectively pushing him to the sidelines. Lyra, however, seemed to possess an uncanny sensitivity to Kyle's subtle shift in demeanor. She turned to him and Dr. Thorne, her skin pulsing with a comforting, almost apologetic, golden hue. "Perhaps, Kyle and Dr. Thorne," she suggested, her xenotranslator buzzing softly, "you would care for an expedited tour of our vessel, while the ambassador and I discuss pre-established diplomatic matters." Before Vance could object, Kyle and Dr. Thorne, seizing the unexpected opportunity, were already following Lyra towards the shimmering alien craft. The interior was a breathtaking marvel of non-Euclidean architecture, with sleek, curved surfaces that seemed to subtly shift and ripple as they walked. The very air inside hummed with a soft, resonant energy, hinting at the ship's advanced power systems. "This is beyond incredible," Kyle breathed, his engineer's mind already racing, desperate to comprehend the fundamental principles behind such advanced construction. "Your propulsion systems must be truly revolutionary, far beyond anything humanity has ever conceived." Lyra began explaining some of the ship's basic functions, her words painting a vivid picture of technology centuries ahead of Earth's capabilities. Kyle's excitement grew exponentially as he realized the profound implications for human space exploration, for every facet of scientific and technological endeavor. Suddenly, a piercing, discordant alarm screamed through the vessel. Lyra's skin flashed a deep, alarming crimson as she rushed towards what appeared to be the ship's primary control room. Kyle and Dr. Thorne exchanged a worried glance before hurrying after her, their hearts pounding in their chests. The control room was a frantic flurry of activity. Luminary crew members, their skin colors cycling through anxious hues of amber and gray, manipulated holographic displays with desperate urgency. Lyra turned to Kyle, her voice tight with concern. "Our life support systems are critically malfunctioning," she explained, her facial patterns reflecting deep distress. "We are unsure of the cause. Our diagnostics offer no clear reason." Kyle's Global Space Agency training, honed through countless simulations of complex system failures, immediately kicked in. "May I take a look?" he offered, his voice calm amidst the chaos. "I have extensive experience with intricate life support systems, albeit with human designs and parameters." After a moment's hesitation, Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed on him with a mixture of hope and desperation. Kyle approached the nearest console, his eyes darting over the bewildering array of unfamiliar symbols and pulsating readouts. Despite the utterly alien nature of the technology, his trained mind began to discern patterns, to understand the flow of energy, the subtle anomalies that defied the ship's internal logic. "There," he said, pointing to a rapidly fluctuating graph that dipped sharply. "It appears to be some kind of unusual energy resonance interference, a harmonic feedback loop." "When did this begin?" "Shortly after we entered your atmosphere, upon landing in this specific region," one of the Luminary engineers replied, their skin pulsing with frantic amber tones. A theory, nascent but compelling, began to form in Kyle's mind, connecting seemingly disparate observations. It could be Earth's unique magnetic field, he hypothesized aloud. Your systems might not be calibrated to account for its specific frequencies and intensity, creating this disruptive resonance. It's causing an overload. Working seamlessly alongside the Luminary engineers, bridging the language barrier with gestures and shared technical diagrams, Kyle helped implement a series of precise adjustments to the ship's primary energy conduits and atmosphere processors. Slowly, miraculously, the shrill alarms quieted and the life support readings began to stabilize, returning to normal parameters. Lyra's skin shifted from crimson to a warm, radiant golden hue, reflecting immense relief and burgeoning admiration. "Thank you, Kyle Anderson," she said, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. "Your quick thinking and exceptional insight may have saved us all from a far more dire predicament." As the crisis subsided, Kyle became acutely aware of the intimate proximity between himself and Lyra. There was a shared moment of profound connection, a silent exchange of relief, and something deeper, something unspoken yet undeniably present in the hum of the ship and the serene glow of her skin. Dr. Eris Thorne, ever the keen observer, raised an eyebrow from the sidelines, his scientific mind already formulating new, revolutionary questions about the possibilities of interspecies compatibility and the underlying universal principles of life. Outside the ship, Ambassador David Vance paced anxiously, his tailored suit now slightly rumpled by the oppressive desert heat. The tour had gone on far longer than his rigid protocols allowed, and he was beginning to fear the worst, his hand hovering instinctively over his secure comm unit, ready to call for military intervention. Just as Vance was about to issue the order, the ship's hatch opened with a soft hiss. Kyle emerged first, followed closely by Dr. Thorne and Lyra. The relief on Vance's face quickly contorted into an expression of profound confusion as he witnessed the easy camaraderie, the visible bond, that had formed between the human and luminary representatives. Kyle knew he had to act fast to preempt any diplomatic blunders or misunderstandings. He stepped forward, addressing both Vance and Lyra with practiced ease and a confident tone. "Ambassador," he began, his voice calm and authoritative, "we've just experienced a significant technical issue aboard the Luminary vessel. Thanks to our combined efforts and Kyle's exceptional engineering skills, we were able to resolve it quickly and without further incident. I believe this unforeseen event has powerfully demonstrated the immense potential benefits of human-luminary cooperation, even under extreme pressure." Lyra nodded in agreement, her golden skin glowing with newfound trust. Indeed, Kyle's immediate assistance was invaluable. "Perhaps we should discuss how our two species can further collaborate, especially in the realm of advanced stellar exploration and interdimensional engineering. We have much to offer each other." Vance's expression shifted from suspicion to cautious interest, a flicker of ambition in his eyes. "Of course," he said, smoothing his suit jacket and regaining his diplomatic composure. "Let's continue our discussions in the makeshift command center. I believe we have much to learn from each other, indeed." As the group moved towards the tented command center, Kyle felt a complex mix of emotions. He had played a crucial, pivotal role in averting a potential disaster and, more importantly, in deepening the nascent human-luminary relations. Yet, he also sensed that this was merely the prelude, the first delicate step in a vastly complex, unforeseen journey into galactic politics. Glancing at Lyra, whose skin now shimmered with a serene mix of blues and greens, reflecting her newfound ease, Kyle wondered about the future. What other challenges and profound discoveries lay ahead as humans and Luminary truly learn to coexist and explore the cosmos together? And how would his own, utterly unexpected role in this historic encounter shape the countless days and interstellar ventures to come? Kyle Anderson and Dr. Eris Thorne exchanged a quick, knowing glance. The Luminary vessel's interior, usually a beacon of serene, living architecture, now pulsed with a dissonant crimson glow, the alarms blaring through the command deck. Lyra, her luminous skin flashing with urgent, distress patterns, was already rushing towards what appeared to be the primary control nexus. Kyle and Dr. Thorne followed, their hearts pounding in their chests. The control room was a frantic whirl of activity. Luminary crew members, their skins cycling through agitated hues of amber and gray, manipulated holographic displays with desperate urgency. Lyra turned to Kyle, her voice tight with concern, the xenotranslator struggling to keep pace with her rapid delivery. "Our core life support systems are critically malfunctioning," she explained, her facial patterns reflecting deep distress. "We are unsure of the cause. Our diagnostics offer no clear reason, merely a cascade of failures." Kyle's rigorous training from the Outer Rim Territories Alliance, ORTA, honed through countless simulations of deep space system failures on Ganymede's harsh orbital stations, immediately kicked in. "May I take a look?" he offered, his voice calm amidst the growing chaos. "I have extensive experience with intricate life support and environmental controls, albeit with human parameters. My background on Ganymede settlements required constant improvisation in volatile atmospheric conditions." After a moment's hesitation, Lyra nodded, her multifaceted gaze fixed on him with a mixture of hope and desperation. Kyle approached the nearest console, his eyes darting over the bewildering array of unfamiliar symbols and pulsating readouts. Despite the utterly alien nature of the technology, his trained mind began to discern patterns, to understand the flow of energy, the subtle anomalies that defied the ship's internal logic. "There," he said, pointing to a rapidly fluctuating graph that dipped sharply. "It appears to be some kind of unusual energy resonance interference, a harmonic feedback loop. When did this begin?" "Shortly after we entered your atmosphere, upon landing in this specific region," one of the Luminary engineers replied, their skin pulsing with frantic amber tones. A theory, nascent but compelling, began to form in Kyle's mind, connecting seemingly disparate observations from his own species' encounters with strange planetary phenomena. "It could be Earth's unique electromagnetic field," he hypothesized aloud. "Your systems might not be fully calibrated to account for its specific frequencies and intensity, creating this disruptive resonance. It's causing an overload across critical pathways." Working seamlessly alongside the Luminary engineers, bridging the language barrier with gestures and shared technical diagrams that were surprisingly universal in their logic, Kyle helped implement a series of precise adjustments to the ship's primary energy conduits and atmosphere processors. Slowly, miraculously, the shrill alarms quieted, and the life support readings began to stabilize, returning to normal parameters. Lyra's skin shifted from crimson to a warm, radiant golden hue, reflecting immense relief and burgeoning admiration. "Thank you, Kyle Anderson," she said, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. "Your quick thinking and exceptional insight may have saved us all from a far more dire predicament. This truly underscores the value of interspecies collaboration." As the immediate crisis subsided, Kyle became acutely aware of the intimate proximity between himself and Lyra. There was a shared moment of profound connection, a silent exchange of relief, and something deeper, something unspoken yet undeniably present in the hum of the ship and the serene glow of her skin. Dr. Eris Thorne, ever the keen observer, raised an eyebrow from the sidelines, his scientific mind already formulating new, revolutionary questions about the possibilities of interspecies compatibility and the underlying universal principles of life. Outside the ship, Ambassador David Vance paced anxiously, his tailored suit now slightly rumpled by the oppressive desert heat. The tour had gone on far longer than his rigid protocols allowed, and he was beginning to fear the worst, his hand hovering instinctively over his secure comm unit, ready to call for Interstellar Guard Emergency Task Force HFY intervention. Just as Vance was about to issue the order, the ship's hatch opened with a soft hiss. Kyle emerged first, followed closely by Dr. Thorne and Lyra. The relief on Vance's face quickly contorted into an expression of profound confusion as he witnessed the easy camaraderie, the visible bond, that had formed between the human and luminary representatives. Kyle knew he had to act fast, to preempt any diplomatic blunders or misunderstandings. He stepped forward, addressing both Vance and Lyra with practiced ease and a confident tone. "Ambassador," he began, his voice calm and authoritative, "we've just experienced a significant technical issue aboard the Luminary vessel. Thanks to our combined efforts and Kyle's exceptional engineering skills, we were able to resolve it quickly and without further incident. I believe this unforeseen event has powerfully demonstrated the immense potential benefits of human-luminary cooperation, even under extreme pressure, and highlights the unique skills our ORTA personnel can bring to galactic engagement." Lyra nodded in agreement, her golden skin glowing with newfound trust. Indeed, Kyle's immediate assistance was invaluable. Perhaps we should discuss how our two species can further collaborate, especially in the realm of advanced stellar exploration and interdimensional engineering. We have much to offer each other. Vance's expression shifted from suspicion to cautious interest, a flicker of ambition in his eyes. "Of course," he said, smoothing his suit jacket and regaining his diplomatic composure. "Let's continue our discussions in the makeshift command center. I believe we have much to learn from each other, indeed." As the group moved towards the tented command center, Kyle felt a complex mix of emotions. He had played a crucial, pivotal role in averting a potential disaster and, more importantly, in deepening the nascent human-luminary relations. Yet he also sensed that this was merely the prelude, the first delicate step in a vastly complex, unforeseen journey into galactic politics. Glancing at Lyra, whose skin now shimmered with a serene mix of blues and greens, reflecting her newfound ease, Kyle wondered about the future. What other challenges and profound discoveries lay ahead as humans and Luminary truly learned to coexist and explore the cosmos together? And how would his own, utterly unexpected role in this historic encounter shape the countless days and interstellar ventures to come? Over the next few weeks, the sprawling desert compound transformed into a miniature city of diplomacy and emerging technology. Construction crews from the Outer Rim Territories Alliance, ORTA, worked relentlessly, erecting massive, open-air pavilions with transparent, light-filtering domes that gleamed under the relentless Arizona sun. Kyle Anderson found himself at the heart of this frantic coordination, bridging the architectural needs of his species with the unique physiological and cultural requirements of the Luminary. He spent countless hours consulting with Lyra and her Luminary advisors, ensuring each space provided the vast, unobstructed views and natural light so vital to their well-being, a direct counterpoint to their ancestral aversion to enclosed spaces. As Kyle supervised the final adjustments to one of the largest transparent domes, a clipped professional voice cut through the hum of machinery. "Mr. Anderson, a word?" He turned to see Major Lena Petrova, her desert camouflage fatigues crisp, her demeanor all business. Her presence, along with the insignia of the Interstellar Guard Emergency Task Force, HFY, on her uniform, radiated authority. "I'm Major Petrova," she stated, her tone direct. "I've been assigned to oversee security for this operation." Kyle extended his hand, which the Major shook with a firm, practiced grip. "Pleasure to meet you, Major. I hope we can work together to ensure everyone's safety while maintaining an atmosphere conducive to true interstellar collaboration." Major Petrova's expression remained neutral, her eyes like chips of unyielding obsidian. "My priority is security, Mr. Anderson. I've read the reports concerning your unscheduled tour of the Luminary vessel. I trust you understand that such protocol breaches are unacceptable moving forward." Kyle felt a familiar prickle of irritation, but kept his voice level, drawing on his experience with bureaucratic friction in the ORTA's expansion efforts. "With all due respect, Major, that breach directly led to a critical system repair and an unparalleled data exchange. Sometimes, practical necessity and a little trust pave the way for progress far more effectively than strict adherence to a manual. The Major's gaze sharpened, but before she could respond, they were interrupted by Dr. Eris Thorne, who burst through the entrance of a nearby research tent, his face alight with unbridled excitement. "Kyle, Major, you need to see this," he exclaimed, waving a data tablet. "I've completed my initial analysis of the Luminary physiological data from our scans, their unique reproductive process. It's unlike anything cataloged in human science. And the most incredible part, the unique enzymatic sequences involved in their symbiotic reproduction might hold the key to curing several genetic terminal illnesses in humans. This is monumental." Kyle's eyes widened, the sheer medical and diplomatic implications of Dr. Thorne's discovery washing over him. Even Major Petrova seemed to soften slightly, a flicker of genuine awe momentarily breaking through her disciplined facade. As word of the Luminary visit and Dr. Thorne's groundbreaking medical findings began to subtly leak beyond the secure perimeter, the compound transformed into a magnet for galactic attention. Orbiter news drones, held at a respectful distance by IGF no-fly zones, hummed overhead, a constant reminder of the world's insatiable gaze. Delegates from various ORTA sectors and even representatives from the distant Unified Sol Directorate began arriving, eager to witness this pivotal moment of first contact. The ORTA Council convened emergency sessions, debating interstellar interaction protocols for a species whose very existence promised to redefine humanity's place in the broader cosmos. Amidst the growing, structured chaos, Kyle found fleeting moments of quiet, stolen time with Lyra. They walked the perimeter of the sprawling, open compound under the twin moons of Arizona's desert nights, sharing fragmented stories of their respective worlds. Kyle felt an undeniable pull towards Lyra's incisive, analytical mind and her boundless, almost childlike curiosity about humanity. Yet a quiet, insistent voice in the back of his mind remained, a logical, Ganymede-honed caution, reminding him of the vast, fundamental biological and societal differences that still existed between their species. One evening, as they stood watching the desert sunset paint the sky in hues of impossible violet and burning orange, Lyra turned to Kyle, her skin shimmering with a soft, warm rosy hue he hadn't seen before, a color that spoke of comfort and burgeoning familiarity. "Kyle, Her words were abruptly cut off by a brilliant, blinding flash in the distant night sky. Both looked up, startled. A streak of light, far too controlled and deliberate to be a natural phenomenon, sliced across the darkening heavens. Lyra's skin pulsed with rapid, alarmed color changes, shifting through deep blues and agitated purples. She raised a wrist-mounted device, its internal sensors whirring as it scanned the approaching anomaly. Her voice was tight with a newly emergent, chilling fear when she spoke. "It's another vessel, and it is most definitely not Luminary." As alarms began to blare across the compound, cutting through the twilight stillness and replacing the hum of orbital drones with a shrill, warning cry, Kyle realized that the delicate balance they had so painstakingly achieved was about to be tested in ways none of them could have anticipated. The journey of first contact, he knew with chilling certainty, was far from finished. It was about to become infinitely more complicated. The universe, it seemed, had just sent a second, far less welcoming, visitor. The approaching vessel streaked across the desert sky, its form unmistakably alien, yet disturbingly different from the elegant Luminary craft. Its angular, predatory silhouette cast an ominous shadow, a stark contrast to the harmonious light of the Luminary ship. Kyle Anderson felt Lyra's grip tighten on his arm, her skin pulsing with rapid, agitated color changes that telegraphed her profound alarm. "We need to get to the command center," Kyle said, his voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline coursing through his veins. Lyra nodded, and they sprinted across the compound, dodging between the hastily erected structures and bewildered ORTA personnel. As they burst into the command center, they found it already a hive of frantic activity. Major Lena Petrova stood at the center, barking orders and coordinating defensive responses. Screens flickered with satellite imagery and data streams, meticulously tracking the descent of the unknown craft. "Mr. Anderson, explain," Petrova demanded, her flinty gaze locking on Kyle. Before he could respond, Dr. Eris Thorne burst through the door, his lab coat askew and his eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and dread. "It's the Oblivion," he exclaimed, waving a tablet. "I've analyzed the energy signature. It matches nothing in our known databases, but—" He turned to Lyra, his expression questioning. Lyra's skin darkened to a deep, stormy blue, a color Kyle now recognized as profound fear and disgust. "He's correct," she said, her xenotranslator struggling to keep up with her rapid delivery. "The Oblivion are a rival empire from a darker sector of our galaxy. They have sought to conquer Luminary territories for generations. They are relentless, expansionist, and utterly ruthless." Major Petrova's eyes narrowed. "Hostile? Extremely? Beyond that which human comprehension might easily grasp," Lyra replied, her voice grim. The room fell silent as they watched the Oblivion ship touch down in a desolate clearing several miles from the compound. Moments later, the delegation emerged. Kyle felt a chill run down his spine as he saw the Oblivion for the first time. Towering, reptilian figures with gleaming, obsidian scales and wickedly sharp, dark claws. Their leader, a monstrous, heavily armored figure, radiated an aura of menace that seemed to drain the very light from the air. "That's Lanchua Xylos," Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible, tinged with a raw, ancient fear. Ambassador David Vance strode into the command center, his face a mask of iron resolve. "What's the situation?" Kyle stepped forward, quickly summarizing what they knew. "Sir, I strongly advise against meeting with them. The Oblivion are known aggressors. Lyra confirms their history of brutal conquest. We should prioritize defense, not diplomacy that risks our nascent alliance." "Nonsense," Vance interrupted, his voice sharp with political expediency. "We cannot refuse to meet with them. It could provoke an immediate, catastrophic incident. A show of strength is necessary, but so is maintaining a diplomatic facade. I will hear them out. Prepare a secure channel for the meeting." Kyle exchanged a worried glance with Lyra as Vance left to prepare for the meeting. "This is bad," Kyle muttered, his voice low. Vance values protocol and appearances over genuine threat assessment. He doesn't understand their nature. The next few hours were a blur of frenetic activity. Kyle and Lyra worked feverishly, compiling data on Luminary contributions and the immense potential benefits of their partnership with humanity. They presented their findings to key decision-makers, including Major Petrova and Dr. Eris Thorne, hoping to counteract whatever propaganda the Oblivion might spread. Their fears proved well-founded. As initial reports from Vance's meeting with the Oblivion trickled in, it became chillingly clear that Lanchua Xylos was painting the Luminary as deceitful manipulators, highlighting their aversion to confined spaces as a sign of weakness or duplicity. The Oblivion offered advanced, destructive weapon technology in exchange for an alliance with ORTA, playing on human fears and ambitions. Tensions escalated rapidly. A group of Oblivion scouts, cloaked by an unfamiliar energy field, attempted to infiltrate the Luminary ship's outer perimeter, leading to a dangerous skirmish at the edge of the compound. Major Petrova swiftly mobilized her HFY security forces, intervening with decisive force to prevent an all-out war. Amidst the chaos of the firefight, Kyle noticed something odd. The Luminary ship's internal systems were malfunctioning again, eerily similar to the life support issue from earlier. As he studied the flickering readouts on a diagnostic panel, a chilling pattern emerged. "Lyra," he called, a surge of realization building in his voice. "Look at this. The interference, it's not random. It's targeted. A specific frequency, precise and malicious." Lyra's eyes widened as she examined the data, her skin pulsing with an urgent, questioning light. "You are correct," she affirmed, her voice tight with dawning horror. "But how? This level of manipulation, it implies sophisticated, remote sabotage. Kyle's mind raced, connecting the dots. What if the Oblivion have been sabotaging your systems all along? It would explain the earlier malfunction and why it's happening again now, perfectly timed with their presence. With this horrifying realization, Kyle knew he had to act. He approached Major Petrova, outlining his theory and proposing a daring, almost reckless plan. "You want to do what?" Petrova asked, her voice laced with incredulity, her gaze sharp enough to cut diamond. "A diplomatic tour of the Oblivion ship? Are you insane, Anderson? It's the only way to confirm my suspicions and potentially find physical evidence of their sabotage," Kyle repeated, his conviction unwavering. "If we expose them now, before they fully poison the well of diplomacy, we can turn the tide." Petrova considered for a long, agonizing moment, her gaze weighing the risks and the potential rewards. Finally, with a grin set to her jaw, she nodded. "All right, Anderson, but I'm coming with you. And at the first sign of anything irregular, anything at all, we're out." "Understood." The tour of the Oblivion flagship was a chilling ordeal. The vessel's interior was a stark contrast to the organic elegance of the Luminary ship, all harsh, angular lines, pulsating biomechanical surfaces, and an oppressive, palpable silence that felt wrong. Kyle Anderson's senses were on high alert, his eyes darting across every console, every shadowed alcove, searching for anything out of place. He moved with a practiced nonchalance, pretending to be utterly captivated by the displays of Oblivion technology, his engineering mind dissecting the alien schematics even as his intuition screamed caution. Then he saw it, tucked almost imperceptibly behind a large, dark control panel. A small, crystalline device glowed with a faint, almost imperceptible pulse. It was cleverly integrated, designed to mimic a minor system anomaly. Using his refined ORTA engineering knowledge and a healthy dose of sheer nerve, Kyle managed to subtly brush against the panel, executing a series of precise, almost invisible movements with his fingers. He activated a tiny, multi-frequency jammer hidden in his comm unit, a device he'd brought as a precaution. The crystalline device's faint pulse flickered, then died. They had the evidence. As they exited the Oblivion ship, Kyle's heart hammered against his ribs. The danger, he knew, was far from over. Lanchua's Xylos stood waiting, his reptilian eyes narrowed into menacing slits, radiating palpable suspicion. "What did you do, human?" Xylos hissed, his voice a guttural growl that reverberated through the landing bay, advancing menacingly on Kyle. Kyle stood his ground, acutely aware of Major Lena Petrova's hand subtly resting on the sidearm, holstered at her hip, her posture shifting into a defensive crouch. "We merely conducted our survey, Lanchua Xylos," Kyle stated calmly, his gaze unwavering. "And in doing so, we've exposed your deception. The sabotage ends now. The Luminary are our allies, and their systems will no longer be interfered with." For a tense, agonizing moment, it seemed Xylos might attack, his claws flexing ominously. But then, Major Petrova's HFY squad arrived, their hybrid energy rifles at the ready, forming an impenetrable defensive line. Xylos's aggressive posture shifted, replaced by a wary, calculating assessment. "Leave Earth now." Petrova's voice was cold steel, cutting through the thick tension. "Your presence here is no longer tolerated. We have proof of your duplicity, and the ORTA will not stand for it." The undeniable evidence of the Oblivion's deception turned the tide. Ambassador David Vance, presented with irrefutable proof of their elaborate sabotage and malicious intent, issued a direct order for the Oblivion fleet to depart immediately. As their angular, dark ships rose into the sky, a collective sigh of relief swept through the compound. In the aftermath, Kyle Anderson found himself hailed as a hero. His daring actions had prevented a potential interstellar disaster and, more importantly, solidified the burgeoning human-luminary alliance, turning a fragile trust into a strong, proven bond. As he stood with Lyra, Watching the dual sunsets paint the desert horizon, he felt a mix of profound exhaustion and exhilaration. "You were amazing, Kyle Anderson," Lyra said, her skin shimmering with warm golden hues of admiration and relief. Kyle smiled, but before he could respond, a commotion near the compound entrance caught their attention. A sleek, official-looking ORTA diplomatic shuttle had just landed, and from it emerged a formidable woman in a crisp, dark uniform adorned with the highest HFY admiral's insignia. "Who's that?" Kyle asked, noticing the way every soldier and officer snapped to attention as she passed. "Admiral Anya Petrova," Major Petrova said, approaching from behind them, her voice holding a rare note of respect. "United Earth Defense. My mother, actually. Looks like things are about to change significantly around here." As Admiral Petrova strode purposefully towards the command center, her presence radiating an aura of unwavering authority and strategic intellect, Kyle couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger, far more complex chapter in humanity's venture into interstellar politics. The immediate threat of the Oblivion might have receded, but the universe was vast, and new challenges always awaited. Admiral Anya Petrova's presence in the command center was immediate and absolute. The room, already a hive of activity, fell into an almost reverent silence as she surveyed the assembled personnel, her sharp, intelligent eyes missing nothing. "Admiral on deck," Major Lena Petrova called out, snapping to rigid attention. Admiral Petrova nodded curtly. "At ease. I need a full situation report, and I need it concise and comprehensive." Now, as the senior officers huddled around her, Kyle Anderson felt a distinct shift in the air, a tightening of control, a sense of purpose that resonated with the disciplined environment he knew from the ORTA's orbital outposts. Over the next few days, that feeling solidified into an undeniable reality. New security protocols were implemented with ruthless efficiency. Checkpoints sprang up overnight, dividing the vast desert compound into strictly regulated zones. Kyle found himself spending more time flashing his ORTA identification badge than actually working on the integration of human and luminary technology. The changes hit the scientific teams particularly hard. Dr. Eris Thorne paced his lab like a caged animal, fuming at the new restrictions on his invaluable luminary tissue samples. "This is madness," he exclaimed, waving a denied request form in Kyle's face. "How am I supposed to continue my groundbreaking research with these bureaucratic shackles? We're on the verge of medical miracles." Kyle sympathized deeply, but he had his own mounting problems. The precious time he spent with Lyra had been drastically reduced, limited to brief, supervised meetings that felt more like formal debriefings than genuine conversations. The natural, organic flow of their burgeoning cross-species understanding was being stifled. One afternoon, Kyle found himself in yet another tense meeting with Admiral Petrova and her stern-faced staff. The topic, the disabled Oblivion sabotage device he had discovered. "Mr. Anderson," Admiral Petrova began, her voice crisp, fixing him with her penetrating gaze. "You possess unique hands-on experience with this technology. I want you to lead a dedicated team to reverse engineer it. We need a planetary defense system capable of identifying and neutralizing such threats, and we need it operational yesterday." Kyle blinked in surprise, the request catching him off guard. "Admiral, with all due respect, that's not my primary area of expertise. I'm a propulsion engineer for ORTA's deep space exploration, not a weapons specialist for planetary defense. My skills are in making ships go faster, not in blowing other ships up." Admiral Petrova's expression hardened, her gaze unwavering. "Your unique exposure to both human and alien tech, particularly the Oblivion's methods, makes you indispensable. Make it work, Anderson. That's a direct order from the HFY command." As Kyle dove into the daunting project, he found himself working longer hours, often late into the arid desert nights. The complex integration of Oblivion technology with existing ORTA systems proved to be a Herculean task. More than once, he wished he could consult freely with Lyra, But access to the Luminary delegation had become increasingly restricted, shrouded in layers of security clearance. One evening, as Kyle struggled with a particularly tricky bit of code that caused widespread electromagnetic interference across the compound, disrupting even basic long-range human communications, he received an unexpected visitor. Major Lena Petrova entered his lab, her usual stern expression softened by a hint of genuine concern. "Anderson, got a minute?" Kyle nodded, grateful for the distraction. "What's on your mind, Major?" Major Petrova hesitated, then spoke in a low, almost confidential voice. "I've noticed some unusual activity among the Luminary visitors. They've been meticulously collecting soil samples, conducting what appear to be very specific energy resonance experiments within their quarters. It could be nothing, but in this climate, everything looks suspicious." Kyle finished for her, a knot forming in his stomach. The fragile trust was already under strain. Major Petrova nodded grimly. "Exactly. I've reported it to Admiral Petrova. She's ordered a discreet investigation. Just keep your eyes open, okay? And report anything out of the ordinary, no matter how small." As she left, Kyle felt a heavy weight settle in his chest. The carefully cultivated trust between humanity and the Luminary was eroding, piece by painful piece, and he felt utterly powerless to stop it. Days blurred into weeks. Kyle's work on the defense system progressed, but not without constant complications. The integration of the captured Oblivion tech consistently caused widespread electromagnetic interference, scrambling communications across the entire desert region, even affecting the nearest ORTA relay satellites. As he grappled with this pervasive new problem, a startling realization struck him. The interference signature was identical to the one that had crippled the Luminary ship upon arrival. The solution, he suddenly understood, might lie not in isolating the Oblivion tech, but in paradoxically combining it with an understanding of Luminary energy principles. But before he could pursue this groundbreaking idea, chaos erupted. Alarms blared across the compound, piercing the quiet night. Kyle's lab door burst open, revealing a wild-eyed Dr. Thorne. "Kyle, we're under attack," Thorne shouted over the deafening din. "Some kind of human extremist group. They've breached the outer perimeter. They're calling themselves the Purifiers of Soul." Kyle's heart raced as he followed Thorne through the frantic corridors. They turned a corner and nearly collided with Lyra and Major Lena Petrova. "Quick, in here," Petrova ordered, ushering them into a nearby, hardened research lab. As Petrova secured the reinforced blast door, Kyle turned to Lyra, her skin pulsing with rapid, anxious color changes, betraying her fear and confusion. "What's happening, Kyle?" Lyra asked, her xenotranslator struggling to keep up with her rapid, distressed speech. "I don't know the full extent," Kyle admitted, his gaze sweeping the lab for anything they could use. "But we need to stay calm and figure out a way to communicate with the outside. These purifiers obviously seek to disrupt our alliance." As they worked feverishly to establish contact, Kyle found himself working closer with Lyra than he had in weeks. Despite the dire circumstances, he felt a familiar warmth in her presence, a rekindling of their scientific and personal connection. Hours passed in a tense, claustrophobic blur of activity. They managed to repurpose some lab equipment into a makeshift, multi-frequency communications device, allowing them to coordinate with Egypt security forces battling the extremists outside. Kyle's deepening understanding of Luminary physiology, gleaned from his restricted but invaluable time with Lyra, proved crucial in developing strategies to protect both human and alien lives within the compound's besieged walls. When the crisis finally ended, the compound was left shaken but standing. The attack had served as a brutal wake-up call, highlighting the fragility of their nascent interstellar peace. In the aftermath, Kyle found himself summoned to Admiral Petrova's office. To his surprise, Lyra was already there. Admiral Petrova's expression was grim as she addressed them. "Recent events have made it clear that we need better integration and understanding between our species and far stronger defenses. Mr. Anderson, your actions during the crisis demonstrated the invaluable worth of true collaboration. Your quick thinking saved countless lives, both human and luminary. Kyle nodded, sensing the weight of her next words. That's why I'm assigning you both a new mission, Admiral Petrova continued, her gaze fixed on them with a new intensity. Kyle Anderson, you will travel to the Luminary homeworld as Earth's first official ambassador to their species. Your objective: negotiate a formal military alliance, one that will stand against any future aggression and secure immediate access to their advanced defensive technology. Lyra, you will accompany him as his chief liaison and cultural advisor. This is a joint mission, unprecedented in its scope. Kyle's mind reeled at the profound implications. He glanced at Lyra, whose skin shimmered with a mix of excitement and apprehension, her internal conflict clearly visible. As they left the Admiral's office, Kyle's thoughts raced. This mission would not only shape the future of ORTA and Earth, but it would test the limits of his growing feelings for Lyra, challenging his ability to bridge the vast chasm between their species on an entirely new level. But before he could fully process it all, a young HFY technician rushed up to them, his face pale and etched with fear. "Sir, Ambassador Lyra, you need to see this," he stammered, thrusting a data tablet into Kyle's hands. Kyle's eyes widened as he scanned the data. Long-range deep space sensors had detected multiple unidentified objects approaching the Sol system. Their sheer size, their warp signatures, and their unprecedented speed suggested they were not natural phenomena, nor were they any known Luminary or Oblivion craft. This was something new, something else. As he shared the chilling information with Lyra, Kyle realized that his mission to the Luminary homeworld had just become infinitely more critical. With the possibility of an unknown, large-scale invasion looming, the need for a strong, unified alliance and cutting-edge defensive capabilities had never been more urgent. Kyle met Lyra's gaze, seeing his own grim determination and uncertainty reflected in her alien features. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, forging a path through the unknown, bridging the gap between their worlds, one perilous step at a time. Kyle Anderson's heart hammered against his ribs, mirroring the dread that coiled in his gut as he processed the chilling information on the data tablet. The unidentified objects, massive and accelerating, hurtling towards the Sol system, loomed like a cosmic shadow over humanity's fragile future. He looked up at Lyra, her skin rippling with a mix of profound concern and steely purpose, a silent echo of his own resolve. "We need to move fast," Kyle stated, his mind already racing through the catastrophic implications. "This changes everything." Before he could elaborate further, the authoritative voice of Admiral Anya Petrova crackled over the compound's intercom system. "All senior ORTA personnel report to the main command center immediately." This is not a drill. As Kyle and Lyra hurried through the rapidly mobilizing corridors of the desert compound, the air crackled with nervous energy, the previous calm shattered by the ominous new threat. They burst into the central command center to find it a maelstrom of frantic activity. Holographic screens pulsed with complex data streams and long-range sensor readings, painting a grim picture of incoming destruction. Admiral Petrova stood at the center, her posture rigid as she addressed the assembled officers of the Interstellar Guard Emergency Task Force, HFY. "As some of you may already know," she began, her voice cutting through the hum of technology, "we've detected multiple unidentified objects approaching our Sol system. Their sheer size, their unmistakable warp signatures, and their unprecedented speed suggest they are not natural phenomena. We are looking at a potential large-scale, hostile invasion from an unknown entity." The room fell silent, the collective weight of her words settling over them like a shroud. "Mr. Anderson," Admiral Petrova continued, her steel gaze fixing on Kyle, "your mission to the Luminary homeworld has just become our absolute top priority. We need that alliance and their advanced defensive capabilities more than we can possibly articulate. The very survival of Earth and our Outer Rim Territory's alliance outpost depends on it." Kyle nodded, feeling the immense pressure of global responsibility settle onto his shoulders like a physical weight. Understood, Admiral. When do I depart? Immediately, Admiral Petrova replied, her tone leaving no room for argument. We've prepared a highly advanced courier vessel, a fusion of ORTA propulsion and initial Luminary stealth technology. It should significantly cut down on travel time, weeks rather than months, if its experimental drives hold up. As the urgent meeting adjourned, Kyle found himself swept up in a whirlwind of preparations. He spent hours in intense briefings, absorbing every scrap of available information about Luminary culture, interstellar diplomacy, and their complex language. Dr. Eris Thorne provided him with detailed biological profiles of the Luminary, emphasizing the importance of understanding their nuanced physiology for effective communication and cultural sensitivity. His final hours before departure were a blur of technical schematics and diplomatic protocols. The night before his departure, Kyle stood in his quarters, staring out at the vast, star-dusted desert sky. The enormity of his task weighed heavily on him. He was no seasoned diplomat. He was an engineer, a problem solver, accustomed to the logical certainties of physics, not the treacherous currents of interspecies politics. Yet, the fate of Earth and the ORTA might very well hinge on his ability to forge this crucial alliance. A soft, almost imperceptible knock at his door pulled him from his anxious thoughts. He opened it to find Lyra standing there, her skin pulsing with gentle, calming hues of soft violet and calming teal, a rare sight that offered Kyle a moment of peace. "I wanted to see you before you left, Kyle Anderson," she said, her Xeno-translator conveying the warmth and genuine concern in her voice. "To wish you fortitude on your momentous journey." Kyle managed a weary but genuine smile, feeling some of his tension ease in her presence. "Thank you, Lyra. I just hope I'm truly up to the task. This is bigger than anything I've ever faced." Lyra reached out her slender, multi-jointed hand, hovering near his arm in a gesture he'd come to recognize as a profound sign of support and empathy. "You will be," she affirmed, her skin subtly shifting to a confident golden tone. "You understand us in a way few other humans do. You possess an innate sense of universal systems, an understanding of the interconnectedness that transcends mere biology. Trust in that understanding. It is your greatest asset." As they talked, Kyle found himself drawing immense strength from Lyra's unwavering confidence in him, a quiet resolve settling deep within his core. When she finally left, he felt more prepared, more grounded for the monumental challenge ahead. The next morning, under a sky still painted with the last vestiges of twilight, Kyle boarded the sleek, experimental hybrid vessel that would carry him across light years to the Luminary homeworld. As the familiar blue-green orb of Earth receded behind him, a distant, shimmering jewel in the cosmic tapestry, he immersed himself in his studies. He pored over advanced Luminary astrophysics, practiced their complex language phonetics until his throat ached, and meticulously reviewed cultural briefings, determined to make the most of every second of the journey. Weeks passed in a blur of focused learning. Language lessons conducted by sophisticated AI, intricate cultural briefings that delve into Luminary philosophy, and rigorous technological familiarization with the ship's cutting-edge systems. Kyle marveled at the vessel's capabilities, a testament to what humans and Luminary could achieve together, even with rudimentary collaboration. Finally, after what felt like an eternity traversing the silent void of deep space, the Luminary home system appeared on the ship's long-range sensors. Kyle's breath caught in his throat as he got his first glimpse of the Luminary homeworld itself. A colossal, swirling orb of vibrant blues, greens, and purples, unlike anything he'd ever seen. A living jewel born of a distant star. As the ship descended through the Luminary atmosphere, a complex symphony of light and shadow, Kyle's eyes widened at the sight of the Luminary capital city. Towering spires of what looked like living crystal stretched towards the heavens, their surfaces shimmering with the same mesmerizing, color-changing properties as Luminary skin. Vehicles that seemed to defy conventional gravity wove between the structures in complex, graceful patterns, a silent, balletic dance of advanced traffic. The ship touched down on a landing pad that pulsed with gentle, welcoming light, reflecting a deep, almost spiritual connection to their planet. As the hatch opened, Kyle took a deep breath, straightened his custom-tailored ORTA diplomatic uniform, and stepped out into the alien air. A formal delegation awaited him, led by a tall, imposing luminary whose skin rippled with authoritative, deeply ingrained patterns. Kyle recognized him immediately from his briefings. Elder Kale, Lyra's father, a figure of immense wisdom and power within Luminary society, known for his pragmatic foresight. Kyle raised his hand in the traditional Luminary greeting he'd practiced countless times, a gesture of respect and openness. "Greetings, Elder Kale," he began, his Luminary pronunciation careful but clear. "I am Kyle Anderson, representative of the Outer Rim Territories Alliance of Earth. I come seeking alliance and enduring friendship between our peoples in the face of a shared, burgeoning threat." Elder Kale's skin flickered with what Kyle hoped was approval, a subtle shift to a deep, resonant gold. "Welcome, Kyle Anderson of Earth," he intoned, his voice resonating with ancient wisdom. "We have much to discuss. The void has whispered to us of growing shadows. Your arrival is timely." As Kyle followed the delegation into a grand crystalline structure, its walls alive with soft, shifting light, his mind raced. The fate of two worlds, perhaps countless more, now rested squarely on his shoulders, and the cosmic clock was ticking. Somewhere out there, the unknown aggressors were hurtling towards Earth, and the bitter memory of Oblivion's betrayal still stung in recent memory. Kyle steeled himself for the unprecedented challenges ahead. It was time to bridge the gap between their worlds, not just with careful words, but with decisive, unwavering action. The true work, he knew, was only just beginning. Kyle Anderson's mind raced as he processed the gravity of the situation. The Oblivion fleet had entered the Outer Sol system, and Earth's defenses, along with the nascent Outer Rim Territories Alliance, ORTA outposts, were about to face their ultimate existential test. "We need to buy more time," Kyle said, his eyes darting between Admiral Anya Petrova and Lyra. "Our defense platforms are ready, but we need a way to slow down their advance, to scatter their formation before they reach our core worlds." Lyra's skin pulsed with a pattern that Kyle had come to recognize as deep concentration, a complex swirl of emerald and violet. "What if we could infiltrate their primary assault vector?" she suggested, her voice steady. "Disrupt their command structure from within." Admiral Petrova raised an eyebrow, a flicker of grudging admiration in her sharp gaze. "That's an incredibly high-risk proposition, Luminary, but it could give us the critical edge we need. What did you have in mind, specifically?" Over the next few frantic hours, Kyle, Lyra, and a specialized team of ORTA and Luminary strategists formulated a daring plan. They would utilize a newly developed stealth vessel, combining Luminary advanced cloaking technology with human piloting precision, to slip past the Oblivion fleet's outer defenses and board their flagship. The mission was audacious, bordering on suicidal, but the stakes were too high for anything less. As the team made their final preparations, Kyle found himself in a quiet moment with Lyra in the hangar bay, the distant hum of the stealth ship's engines filling the space. Her skin shimmered with a mix of anticipation and profound concern, reflecting the immense pressure they both felt. "Kyle," she said softly, her voice carrying a weight that transcended the Xenotranslator. "I want you to know that whatever happens out there, working with you has been profoundly enlightening. A bridge built not just between species, but between individual minds." Kyle offered a weary but genuine smile, touched by the sentiment that resonated deep within him. "Likewise, Lyra. Absolutely likewise. Let's make damn sure we both come back to continue our collaboration. There's still so much to learn, so much to build." The stealth ship detached from the orbital station, a sleek, almost invisible sliver against the backdrop of deep space. Kyle sat at the helm, his hand steady on the controls despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Beside him, Major Lena Petrova monitored the ship's systems, her expression one of intense, unyielding focus. As they approached the outer edges of the Oblivion fleet, Kyle's heart hammered against his ribs. The sheer vastness of the enemy armada became terrifyingly apparent. Countless dark, angular ships stretching as far as the eye could see, their hulls gleaming with an ominous, almost predatory metallic sheen. "Contact!" Major Petrova whispered urgently, her voice a low growl. "Patrol vessels at 2 o'clock. Multiple signatures." Kyle's hands flew over the controls, guiding their vessel into a series of evasive maneuvers honed from years of navigating treacherous asteroid fields and high-density orbital traffic from his Ganymede days. Lyra, monitoring the advanced Luminary cloaking systems, made constant, minute adjustments, keeping them hidden from the Oblivion sensors. For several tense minutes, they weaved through the patrol lines, their ship mere meters from detection. Kyle held his breath, acutely aware that the slightest miscalculation could doom not only their mission but the entire Sol system. Finally, they cleared the immediate patrol zone, a collective sigh of relief passing through the cramped cabin. But their respite was short-lived, as the imposing, colossal form of the Oblivion flagship loomed before them, a dark monolith of destruction. "Our intel on their ship layout is outdated," one of the Luminary specialists on board reported, her skin pulsing with concern, her data streams flickering. "Their primary bridge and weapons nexus appear to have been reconfigured since our last encounter." Kyle's mind raced, analyzing the flagship's exterior, cross-referencing against the incomplete data. "Lyra," he said, turning to his Luminary counterpart, "what more can you tell me about Oblivion physiology? Any unique insights that might help us identify a fundamental weak point in their design? Something beyond conventional structural vulnerabilities?" Lyra's eyes narrowed in concentration, her skin shifting to a complex internal pattern. "Their sensory organs are highly sensitive to specific, resonant frequencies," she explained, her voice gaining a new edge of strategic thought. "If we can locate their primary environmental control systems or nerve centers within the flagship, we might be able to exploit that to our advantage. A focused sonic pulse, perhaps, tuned to disrupt their internal equilibrium." Kyle nodded quickly, a grim smile forming on his face as he formulated a new, daring plan. "All right, we'll split into 2 teams after breach. Lyra, you're with me. We're heading straight for the weapons control nexus, or whatever functions as their central nervous system. Major Petrova, take the rest of the team and focus on sabotaging their main propulsion engines. Cripple their mobility." With practiced precision, they breached the flagship's hull, using a combination of Luminary phase-shifting technology and good old-fashioned human cutting tools to carve a silent entry. As they entered the massive vessel, Kyle was struck by the chilling, alien architecture, all harsh angles, jagged edges, and pulsating biomechanical surfaces that seemed to writhe with malevolent energy. The air was cold, thin, and carried a faint, metallic tang, unlike anything Kyle had experienced even in the deepest vacuum simulations. The team split up, each group melting into the shadows, heading towards their respective objectives. Kyle led his team through winding, labyrinthine corridors, every shadow a potential threat, constantly on alert for Oblivion security measures. They encountered their first real obstacle in the form of hovering security drones, their multifaceted sensor arrays scanning relentlessly. "Everyone freeze," Kyle whispered, his mind racing for a solution. His eyes fell on the Luminary communication devices they carried, sophisticated personal comms that also served as analytical tools. "Lyra, can we repurpose these to emit a specific, high-frequency pulse that might scramble their optical or sonic sensors? Something targeted, not just a broad EMP." Lyra's skin flickered with understanding, shifting to a bright, decisive orange. "Brilliant idea, Kyle," she affirmed. "Give me a moment to reconfigure the emitter for maximum resonance and amplitude." With quick, precise movements, Lyra adjusted their devices. The air around them seemed to ripple, and the drones above them shuddered, their erratic movements suggesting success as their sensor arrays flickered erratically. They pressed on, now moving with increased urgency, knowing their window of opportunity was fleeting. As they neared the Oblivion flagship's weapon control nexus, the resistance intensified dramatically. Oblivion warriors, their bio-armor pulsing with angry, malevolent red energy, poured into the corridor, moving with unnerving speed. Kyle and his team immediately took cover, returning fire with their hybrid ORTA energy rifles, the air crackling with ozone and the percussive thud of heavy plasma bolts. In the chaotic frenzy of the firefight, one of the human specialists from Ganymede was hit, an Oblivion energy bolt searing through their protective gear. Lyra, reacting with startling speed, immediately moved to the injured team member's side, her multi-jointed hands already reaching for her medical kit, her skin flashing with urgent, caring blues. "Cover us," Kyle shouted, laying down suppressing fire with pinpoint accuracy as Lyra worked to stabilize their wounded comrade. Lyra's knowledge of Luminary first aid techniques, alien yet remarkably effective, proved invaluable. Within minutes, she had the specialist stabilized, their vitals normalizing thanks to a combination of Luminary healing gels and concentrated human painkillers. With their immediate objective in sight and their injured comrade secured, they pushed forward, renewed determination hardening their resolve. They finally breached the weapon control nexus, the reinforced door hissing open to reveal a vast, cavernous chamber. Kyle rushed to the main console, his fingers flying over the alien interface, his eyes widening as he took in the sheer complexity of the system. "This is far more advanced than we anticipated," he muttered, his brow furrowing in deep concentration. "I can't fully disable it in time. The failsafes are too intricate, too deeply integrated." Lyra moved to his side, her skin pulsing with rapid, analytical patterns as she quickly assessed the system's architecture. "What if we reprogrammed it instead, Kyle?" she suggested, her voice tight with a daring idea. "Turn their own weapon against them? It possesses multi-spectral targeting capabilities that could be re-vectored." Kyle nodded, a grim, determined smile forming on his face. "It's incredibly risky, Lyra, a gamble of monumental proportions, but might be our only shot. Let's do it. We'll flood their own network with their destructive output." As Kyle and Lyra worked feverishly, a symphony of human and luminary minds collaborating under unimaginable pressure, the ominous sound of heavy footsteps approached. The massive doors to the control nexus burst open, revealing the towering, heavily armored figure of Overlord Cthar, the Oblivion fleet commander himself, flanked by his elite guard. "Intruders!" Cthar's voice boomed, a guttural roar filled with unadulterated fury and disgust, echoing through the chamber. "You dare to invade our flagship, our domain?" Kyle's hands never left the console as he shouted to his team, "Hold them off. We need more time." The room erupted into chaos as Kyle's team engaged Cthar and his heavily armed guards. Energy bolts flew back and forth, the air thick with ozone and the clatter of weapons fire. Kyle's mind raced as he worked, his focus absolute, acutely aware of the brutal firefight raging just meters behind him. He could hear Lyra's labored breathing beside him, feel the raw tension radiating from her as she assisted with the complex reprogramming, her every motion precise and calculated. A sharp cry of pain caught Kyle's attention. He spun his head, his blood running cold. Lyra was caught in Cthar's massive grip, the Oblivion Overlord's bioblade poised to strike. For a split second, Kyle's hand hovered over the final command to activate the reprogrammed weapon. His training, his instinct to protect the mission, warred with an impulse far deeper, far more personal. In that defining moment, Kyle made his choice. He trusted in Lyra, in the bond they had forged through their shared trials. His fingers flew across the console, completing the sabotage sequence, even as Lyra twisted in Cthar's grasp with a surprising burst of agility. To Kyle's astonishment, Lyra executed a series of fluid, evasive moves he recognized from human zero-G combat training. a testament to her rapid adaptability, breaking free from Kthar's hold and sending the massive Oblivion commander stumbling backward, roaring in frustration. "Now, Kyle," Lyra shouted, her skin flashing with urgent, triumphant patterns. Kyle slammed his hand down on the activation sequence. The entire flagship shuddered violently around them as the massive weapon powered up, its core resonating with uncontrolled energy. But instead of targeting Earth, it began to turn on the Oblivion fleet itself. Alarms blared throughout the flagship, a cacophony of warning, as Kthar roared in disbelief and incandescent rage, his dark eyes widening in horrifying realization. Kyle grabbed Lyra's arm, shouting to his team, "We need to move now. This ship's going to tear itself apart." They fought their way back through the rapidly deteriorating corridors, the ship's systems going haywire around them, explosions rippling through its dark interior. They rendezvoused with Major Lena Petrova's team, who had successfully sabotaged the main propulsion engines, leaving chaos and confusion in their wake. As they raced back to their stealth ship, Kyle could feel the flagship breaking apart, groaning under the strain of its own misdirected power. They barely made it to their vessel, disengaging from the Oblivion flagship, just as massive, cascading explosions began to tear it apart from within. From the relative safety of their retreating stealth ship, Kyle and his team watched in awe as the reprogrammed weapon unleashed its devastating power on the unsuspecting Oblivion fleet. Ship after dark, angular ships succumbed to the devastating energy pulses, breaking apart or fleeing in disarray, their formation shattered. As they approached the Sol system, they could see the combined human and Luminary defense platforms already in action, mopping up the remaining Oblivion stragglers, their coordinated fire a brilliant display of united power. Admiral Anya Petrova's voice crackled over their comms, filled with a mixture of profound relief and unadulterated pride. "Well done, team," she boomed. "You've given us more than just a victory. You've given us hope. You've given us a future." Kyle exchanged a weary but triumphant smile with Lyra as they began their descent back to the core worlds. The immediate threat had been neutralized, the Oblivion driven back, but he knew their work was not nearly finished. As the blue-green orb of their home planet grew larger in the view screen, a beacon of fragile life in the vast, unforgiving cosmos, Kyle's mind was already turning to the future, to the new challenges and opportunities that lay ahead in this burgeoning era of human-luminary cooperation and interstellar defense. In this new era of human-luminary alliance, as the stealth ship touched down gently at the Outer Rim Territories Alliance, ORTA, orbital station, Kyle Anderson felt the immense weight of their accomplishments settle over him. The successful, audacious mission against the Oblivion fleet had irrevocably changed everything. Earth had faced its greatest existential threat and emerged victorious, thanks to the combined ingenuity and courage of humans and Luminary. In the weeks that followed, Kyle found himself at the epicenter of a whirlwind of activity. The newly unified Interstellar Guard Emergency Task Force, HFY, now under the undisputed leadership of Admiral Anya Petrova, initiated a massive, unprecedented expansion of Earth's defense fleet. Kyle was personally tasked with overseeing the complex integration of advanced Luminary propulsion systems into human vessel designs. "These new drives will increase our ship's speed by a factor of 10, Kyle explained to a group of awestruck ORTA engineers, his hands moving animatedly over a holographic display. The Luminary phase shift technology allows us to bypass traditional limitations of space-time, effectively folding space over short distances. As he spoke, Kyle caught sight of Lyra entering the lab, her skin rippling with a pattern he now recognized as pure, unadulterated excitement. "Kyle, you need to see this," she exclaimed, gesturing for him to follow. They made their way to the medical wing, a cutting-edge facility on the orbital station, where Dr. Thorne was waiting for them. The doctor's face was alight with incandescent enthusiasm. "We've done it," Thorne announced, barely containing his jubilation. "We've successfully adapted Luminary biological processes to cure human genetic diseases. The trials are beyond our wildest expectations. Kyle's eyes widened as he absorbed the profound implications, watching a monitor display the astonishing results of the cellular-level treatment. This was a true miracle, a tangible manifestation of the Alliance's potential. Over the next few months, specialized treatment centers were established worldwide across ORTA territories and the Old Earth nations. Thousands of human volunteers, suffering from previously incurable genetic disorders, came forward, eager to benefit from this medical breakthrough. Kyle watched with a deep sense of pride as the cooperation between humans and Luminary grew stronger, more deeply intertwined, with each passing day. One afternoon, as Kyle was reviewing complex plans for a new deep space survey vessel, a joint human Luminary endeavor, Admiral Petrova entered his office. "Anderson, we need you on Kepler 186F, she said without preamble, referring to a newly discovered exoplanet within a habitable zone, a promising candidate for expansion. The Luminary have proposed a joint colonization project there, and it's expanding faster than we anticipated. We need your expertise to oversee the integration of new terraforming techniques, combining our environmental systems with their geomorphic manipulation." 2 days later, Kyle found himself stepping onto the vibrant, nascent soils of Kepler 186F, Lyra by his side. The human Luminary colony stretched out before them, a testament to what their species could achieve together. Massive, bioluminescent domes housed thriving ecosystems, while construction teams worked tirelessly to expand the habitable areas, transforming the alien landscape. "It's beautiful," Lyra murmured, her skin shimmering with a mix of awe and deep, shared pride as she gazed at the blooming flora and intricate Luminary energy conduits. As they toured the burgeoning colony, a profound sense of optimism about the future swelled within Kyle. However, that feeling was abruptly shattered when his comm unit buzzed with an urgent, encoded message from the HFY command center on Earth. "Kyle, we have a critical situation." Major Lena Petrova's voice crackled through the device, laced with raw urgency. "There's been a coordinated attack on the Luminary embassy in New Babylon on Earth. It's not an isolated incident. We're seeing synchronized strikes against Luminary facilities across all major ORTA sectors and Earth settlements." Kyle's stomach dropped, a cold dread washing over him. He exchanged a worried glance with Lyra before responding, his voice taut. "We're on our way back. Keep us updated on all threat vectors." The journey back to Earth was tense, filled with a barrage of escalating reports of violence. Radical human extremist groups, calling themselves the Soul Guardians and vehemently opposed to alien influence within the Sol system, had launched a series of brutal attacks that threatened to undo years of painstaking progress in human-Luminary relations. Upon their frantic return, Kyle and Major Lena Petrova were immediately tasked with leading a joint task force to investigate and neutralize the escalating threat. As they delved deeper into the extremist network, a disturbing, familiar pattern emerged from the wreckage of the attacks. "These weapons," Kyle said, examining the remains of a sophisticated energy disruptor used in one of the embassy attacks, "they're not of human origin. They're resonance signatures. I've seen them before." Major Petrova nodded grimly, her jaw tight. "You're right, Anderson. Our forensics teams have found unmistakable traces of Oblivion technology in several of the crime scenes. It seems some of them survived our last encounter, and they found allies among humanity's xenophobic fringe." The revelation sent shock waves through the HFY High Command, as Kyle and his team worked tirelessly to uncover the full extent of the Oblivion manipulation. A new and dangerous challenge arose in the form of General Marcus Blackwood. Kyle watched with growing concern as Blackwood addressed the ORTA Council, his booming voice resonating through the chamber, twisting fear into political leverage. "We cannot continue to leave ourselves vulnerable to alien influences," the general declared, his rhetoric inflammatory. "It's time we take a far more aggressive, human-centric stance in protecting our interests, our very existence." Blackwood's incendiary words found disturbing support among a powerful faction of the council, challenging Admiral Anya Petrova's authority and threatening the very foundations of the alliance with the Luminary. Kyle knew they needed to act fast to provide irrefutable public evidence of the Oblivion's insidious involvement to prevent a complete breakdown of interspecies relations and a potential civil war within ORTA. We need hard evidence of the Oblivion's deep-seated involvement in funding and arming these Soul Guardians, Kyle told Lyra, his voice grim, as they prepared for a covert mission to a suspected extremist hideout on Europa, a moon of Jupiter. If we can prove they're orchestrating these attacks, we can discredit Blackwood's dangerously isolationist position and reaffirm our essential alliance. Their mission to the hidden, icy base on Europa was fraught with chilling danger. As they infiltrated the subterranean facility, Kyle and Lyra discovered devastating plans for a large-scale, simultaneous attack on Earth's major population centers and key ORTA infrastructure, designed to fracture the human Luminary alliance once and for all. We need to warn Admiral Petrova, Kyle said urgently, rapidly downloading the incriminating data onto a secure drive. This attack could happen at any moment. As they raced back to their stealth ship, alarms blared throughout the concealed base, the cavernous tunnels echoing with the sounds of pursuing Oblivion-backed Soul Guardian forces. They barely made it to the launch pad before enemy forces converged on their position. The ship shuddered violently as it broke free of Europa's crushing gravity, but their relief was short-lived. "We've got company," Lyra announced, her multi-jointed hands flying over the ship's controls, her skin pulsing with renewed alarm. 3 vessels closing fast. They bear Oblivion energy signatures. Kyle strapped himself into the co-pilot's seat, activating the ship's advanced defenses. "Let's hope those Luminary upgrades are as good as we think they are, Lyra." What followed was a heart-pounding, high-stakes chase through the treacherous asteroid fields of the Jupiter system, with Kyle and Lyra pushing their hybrid ship to its absolute limits to evade their relentless pursuers. Just as they thought they had gained the upper hand, a lucky shot from one of the enemy vessels clipped their engine. "We're losing power," Lyra reported, her skin pulsing with urgent, desperate patterns. "We can't maintain our course to the orbital station." Kyle's mind raced, assessing their rapidly dwindling options. "We'll have to make an emergency landing," he decided, his voice grim but resolute. "Set a course for the nearest stable landmass. We need to get this data to ORTA Command." Their descent through Jupiter's hostile, turbulent atmosphere was rough, the ship bucking and shuddering as Lyra fought for control, using every ounce of her piloting skill. They crashed into a desolate, ice-covered plain, the impact throwing them violently against their restraints. As the dust settled, Kyle extricated himself from his seat, immediately moving to check on Lyra. "Are you all right?" he asked, helping her up. Lyra nodded, her skin rippling with a mix of pain and relief. "I'll survive, Kyle, but we're not out of danger yet." A quick survey of their shattered surroundings confirmed Kyle's worst fears. They had crash-landed in a remote, unforgiving area, far from any immediate ORTA rescue or support. Worse, their communication systems were severely damaged, leaving them cut off from the unified Earth Defense Forces. "We need to get moving," Kyle said, gathering what salvageable supplies he could from the wreckage. "Those Soul Guardian forces, backed by Oblivion, won't be far behind. They'll want this data back." As they set off across the barren, icy expanse, Kyle couldn't shake the chilling feeling that their journey was only just beginning. The fate of Earth's alliance with the Luminary, and perhaps humanity's very future in the galaxy, now rested on their shoulders. And the clock was ticking. As they raced against time to prevent disaster, Kyle Anderson and Lyra pushed through the desolate, icy wastes of Europa, their bodies aching from the crash and the grueling journey. The faint hum of pursuit echoed in the distance, spurring them forward despite their profound exhaustion. As the European night fell, casting long, alien shadows across the frozen landscape, they stumbled upon a small, isolated ORTA communications outpost, its lone antenna reaching towards the star-dusted sky. "There!" Kyle gasped, pointing at the solitary structure. "We might be able to contact Admiral Anya Petrova from there, get the data, Phil." They approached cautiously, wary of unseen threats in the alien twilight. The outpost appeared abandoned, its exterior weathered by countless ice storms, its automated lights flickering weakly. Kyle worked quickly to bypass the antiquated security system while Lyra kept watch, her skin pulsing with alert patterns, her multifaceted eyes scanning the frigid horizon. Inside, Kyle found the communications array, a relic of early ORTA deep space exploration. His fingers flew over the controls, bypassing protocols and rerouting power, finally establishing a secure, albeit shaky, connection to Earth's HFY headquarters. Admiral Petrova, this is Kyle Anderson. Do you copy? Static crackled, then a familiar, stern voice broke through. Kyle, where the hell have you been? No time to explain, Admiral. We have critical information about the attacks on Luminary facilities. General Marcus Blackwood is about to address the ORTA Council. You need to stop him. He's being manipulated. Kyle quickly transmitted the devastating data they had recovered from the Oblivion base on Europa. Irrefutable proof of the enemy's insidious manipulation of the Soul Guardians. He could hear the urgency in Admiral Petrova's voice as she received the data. This changes everything. I'm heading to the council chamber now. Well done, you two. Get yourselves to a secure location immediately. The transmission cut off just as the faint sound of approaching vehicles reached their ears once more. Kyle and Lyra shared a determined look before racing out of the outpost, disappearing into the shadows of Europa's frozen landscape once more. Back on Earth, in the grand, domed chamber of the ORTA Council, Admiral Anya Petrova burst through the doors just as General Marcus Blackwood was mid-speech, his voice booming with deceptive conviction. I implore you, members of the Council, Blackwood was declaring, his words echoing through the hallowed hall. We must take decisive action to protect Earth from alien influences. The recent attacks are proof. They are the work of dangerous unknowns, not allies. They are the work of the Oblivion General, not the Luminary. Admiral Petrova interrupted, striding purposefully to the center of the chamber, her presence commanding immediate attention. She held up a secure data slate, projecting the damning evidence Kyle had sent. Intercepted Oblivion communications, financial transfers to Soul Guardian accounts, schematics for the sabotage devices. The council members murmured in shock as they reviewed the irrefutable data. General Blackwood's face paled, his composure crumbling around him, his carefully constructed narrative dissolving into dust. Before he could mount a defense, IGIT security personnel, acting on a prearranged signal from the Admiral, moved in swiftly to apprehend him. As Blackwood was led away in handcuffs, his furious protests ignored, Admiral Petrova addressed the stunned council. We don't have much time. The Oblivion are planning a large-scale, simultaneous attack on Earth's major cities and ORTA infrastructure. We need to mobilize our defenses immediately. Our alliance with the Luminary is not a weakness. It is our greatest strength. The chamber erupted into action, with council members rushing to coordinate Earth's response. Admiral Petrova turned to her communication device. Kyle, Lyra, if you can hear this, we need you back at headquarters. We're mounting a full-scale counterstrike. Hours later, Kyle Anderson stood on the bridge of the ORS Vanguard, the flagship of Earth's new hybrid fleet, a marvel of human and luminary engineering. The massive ship hummed with power, its systems a seamless blend of human tactical displays and glowing luminary energy conduits. Through the forward view screen, he could see dozens of similar vessels, the pride of the ORTA and the Luminary Alliance, forming up around them, their combined might a terrifying sight. All ships reporting ready, sir, his first officer announced, a young human from a lunar mining colony. Kyle nodded, his eyes fixed on the stars beyond, a grim determination set on his face. Initiate phase shift drives, he ordered, his voice echoing with authority. Let's meet the Oblivion before they ever reach Earth. The fleet surged forward, the familiar, exhilarating disorientation of phase shift travel lasting only moments before they emerged directly into the midst of the approaching Oblivion armada. The enemy ships, caught off guard by the unexpected, aggressive maneuver, scrambled to respond, their dark, angular forms scattering in disarray. "Fire at will," Kyle ordered, and the space around them erupted into a chaotic symphony of destructive energy. The battle raged fiercely, a maelstrom of light and fury. Oblivion vessels shimmered in and out of view, utilizing their advanced cloaking technology, attempting to evade the devastating barges of the Allied fleet. Kyle's mind raced as he coordinated the fleet's movements, blending human tactical instincts for direct engagement with luminary technological prowess for precision strikes. A massive energy blast from an Oblivion dreadnought rocked the Vanguard, sending sparks flying across the bridge. "Shields down to 30%, an officer shouted, her voice strained. Kyle gripped his command chair, assessing their rapidly dwindling options. "Evasive maneuvers. Bring us about for another pass." As they turned, Kyle caught sight of a familiar, nimble vessel through the view screen. Lyra's modified Luminary support ship, the ORTA, dancing between enemy fire, its movements fluid and precise. A surge of pride, and something far deeper, filled Kyle's chest as he watched her command her ship with such alien grace. Suddenly, a barrage of concentrated Oblivion fire engulfed the Vanguard. Alarms blared throughout the flagship as critical systems failed across the ship. Hull breach on decks 3 through 7. Damage control reporting massive power loss to engines. The damage control officer reported, her voice laced with panic. Kyle knew they couldn't take much more. He opened a comm channel to Lyra's ship. "Lyra, we're in trouble here. We need—" Before he could finish, Lyra's calm voice cut in. "I see it, Kyle. Hold on. I'm coming to you." Kyle watched in awe as Lyra's vessel executed a series of impossible maneuvers, weaving through impossible fields of enemy fire to reach the crippled Vanguard. With expert precision, she brought her ship alongside the disabled flagship. "Prepare for emergency docking." Lyra's calm voice came through the comms. "I hope you're ready for some teamwork, Kyle." As the two ships connected, their hulls locking with a heavy thud, Kyle felt a renewed sense of purpose. He and Lyra had always worked well together, their minds complementary, but this was something else entirely. They moved in perfect sync across the Vanguard's damaged bridge, Lyra seamlessly interfacing with the ship's remaining Luminary systems, Kyle coordinating the Vanguard's few operational weapons. "Kyle," Lyra called out, her voice tight with concentration, her skin pulsing with rapid, urgent patterns. "The resonant weapon. It's our only chance to disperse their core." Understanding flowed between them. Kyle input the activation sequence for the electromagnetic pulse generator, a massive, newly developed device powered by combined Luminary crystal technology and ORTA power conduits, a weapon they had hoped would never be necessary. "All Allied ships. This is Commander Anderson on the Vanguard." Kyle broadcast to the fleet, his voice amplified across the comms. "Prepare for EMP deployment. Protect your systems and stand by to engage." With a shared nod, a silent vow between species, Kyle and Lyra activated the pulse. A monstrous wave of invisible energy swept across space, overloading the systems of the Oblivion fleet. Enemy ships drifted powerless, their weapons and shields disabled, their dark forms now vulnerable. "All ships engage," Kyle ordered, his voice ringing with triumph. The combined human and Luminary forces surged forward, a tidal wave of righteous fury, quickly overwhelming the defenseless Oblivion vessels. Within hours, the battle was over. Earth was safe. As the adrenaline of combat faded, replaced by the quiet hum of victory, Kyle looked over at Lyra, her skin shimmering with patterns of profound relief and shared joy. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Kyle knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Weeks later, Kyle Anderson and Lyra stood side by side before the ORTA Council, their actions having not only saved Earth, but also solidified the unbreakable bond between humanity and the Luminary. The council members, their faces etched with newfound respect, listened intently as they recounted their experiences and presented their shared vision for the future. Members of the council, Kyle began, his voice steady and clear, echoing through the revitalized chamber. We stand at a crossroads, a new dawn for our species. The threat we faced has shown us, unequivocally, that we are stronger together than we ever could be apart. We propose the establishment of a joint human luminary interstellar exploration program, a unified effort to push the boundaries of our collective knowledge and to forge an even deeper, more profound connection between our species. Murmurs of approval rippled through the chamber. Lyra stepped forward, her skin pulsing with confidence as she spoke, her voice resonating with alien wisdom. This program will combine the best of both our cultures, our philosophies, and our technologies. Together, we can achieve things neither of our species could ever dream of alone. We can explore the farthest reaches of the galaxy, uncover its deepest secrets, and build a truly harmonious future. The council deliberated briefly, the weight of their decision palpable, before reaching a unanimous decision. The joint exploration program was approved, ushering in a new era of unprecedented cooperation and boundless discovery. Months passed in a flurry of preparation and eager anticipation. Finally, the day arrived for the maiden voyage of the program's flagship, the Luminary, a vessel that perfectly embodied their alliance. A vast crowd of humans from every ORTA sector and hundreds of Luminary delegates gathered at the orbital launch complex, their excitement palpable in the vibrant atmosphere. As Kyle and Lyra made their way to the boarding ramp, they paused for a moment, taking in the monumental significance of the moment. Kyle reached out, gently touching Lyra's arm, his fingers brushing against her shimmering skin. "Can you believe how far we've come?" he asked softly, a sense of wonder in his voice. Lyra's skin rippled with a pattern that Kyle had come to recognize as profound affection and shared destiny. From that first, awkward meeting in the Arizona desert, to this, she said, her voice filled with a quiet reverence. "It's more than I ever imagined possible, Kyle Anderson." They boarded the ship amidst a deafening roar of cheers and applause from the unified crowd, making their way to the bridge. The Luminary was a marvel of engineering, seamlessly blending human design elements with luminary aesthetic and technological principles into something entirely new, a vessel of pure, unadulterated hope. As they took their positions at the central command console, Kyle couldn't help but marvel at how natural it felt to work alongside Lyra, their movements in perfect, intuitive harmony as they began the intricate launch sequence. Kyle turned to Lyra, a wide, genuine smile playing on his lips. "Ready to explore the universe together, Lyra?" Lyra's eyes shimmered with excitement, her skin pulsing with a kaleidoscope of radiant colors that spoke of joy, anticipation, and an unbreakable bond. "With you always, Kyle Anderson." The Luminary's engines roared to life, a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the deck, lifting the colossal ship from the launch pad. As they ascended through the atmosphere, the blue of Earth's sky gradually giving way to the endless, star-dusted black of deep space, Kyle and Lyra shared a look of pure exhilaration. They were embarking on a journey that would take them beyond the stars, into a future where the boundaries between their species would continue to blur and new adventures awaited at every turn. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Kyle knew that together, humans of the Outer Rim Territories Alliance and the Luminary could overcome anything. The universe stretched out before them, vast and full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and Kyle couldn't wait to see what they would discover next.